Good morning. Today is a good one. Today we're discussing the 5 things sellers need to know about selling older properties in Vancouver. Now, we know that pre-sales have been huge over the last run in the market, but there's plenty of older inventory out there that is just as popular, desired, and sought after as new. Maybe not quite so much as the new, but needless to say, there's plenty of inventory that is not brand new out there that are great buys, and we needed to touch on that a little bit here. So older properties, these are the 5 points that are kind of the key aspects that need attention brought to them when you are a seller and you do own an older property, and what the buyers are going through when they're searching those properties and taking them into consideration. So the first is nervous buyers. Of course, as an older property, you have the the life expectancy of all the systems in the building. Highlighted in the depreciation report for some condos if they opt to get it, still not mandatory in BC, but you've got a life expectancy of everything. The windows, the roof, the plumbing, all this. So there's a little hint, if you will, of nervousness on the buyer's behalf, depending how experienced they are in the real estate market and buying and selling, and where their threshold is for these older homes and the older inventory on, for example, where in the life cycle is the plumbing right now? Where in the life cycle is the roof right now? Is it starting to fail? Are they doing patchwork and waiting for it to be bad enough to basically replace, or has it still got a good 10 years left in its life? So these are the first kind of wave of question marks that are going to come to buyers when they're searching out your inventory, being on the older side of things. The second, of course, is the whole leaky condo issue that we have dealt with here, roughly between 1980 and the very late 90s. Face sealed stucco and EIFS buildings that did not have a rain screen technology in place at that time. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that, but that is a very highly publicized and has been over the years, and a very large fear of buyers here in BC. I can't speak to the rest of the country, but specifically here in BC, and I believe it was, I'm not even going to get into it, here in BC as far as I know. So knowing that, hopefully you're working with a realtor who knows what that is and is experienced and educated on what exactly the fault is, the repair is, the preventative maintenance side of things are, so they can speak to that issue if you are in a building that has that specific technology in place. So that's a big one, and a lot of people will steer clear of buildings that have that material in place and those lack of rain screen systems in place just because they don't want to get caught up in it. The building may very well have a higher annual maintenance program because of it, and of course getting the envelope replaced with a rain screen technology is boldly expensive and arguably the most expensive job in any strata building, but people are very aware of it, very aware of what it can potentially cost. So if you are in a building that's older that does have this technology or lack of rain screen technology in place, you really want to, when you're interviewing your listing agent, speak to them about that and make sure they are very knowledgeable on being able to speak to that specific point about your address. Being honest with your realtor on any level, old house, old condo, the number one step is clarity between you and your representative, so your listing agent, and telling them things that are going on in the building, if it may or may not be in the minutes, and if it's a stratified building, or specifically if you own a house, where obviously there's no governing body, it's just yourself as the owner, keeping track of everything, really being honest with your agent and streamlining the process that they're going to be going through by answering all these probing questions by the buyers. Keep your agent on top of things, what's going on in the building, things that are and are not in the minutes, and in the house, what exactly you've done, what you're doing, what you're noticing, and all this sort of stuff. Because the last thing you want is a phone call a few months after you sell saying, there was an issue, we believe you knew about it or would have known about it, and we want to make a point of it. So honesty is always key in this sort of thing, between your representative, your side, and the buyer side, and everyone being on the same page and not dusting anything under the rug that would want to be known, of course. Additional costs, as a seller of an older property, this isn't really taking you into any additional costs per se. For a house, I always suggest to be the proactive owner before you sell. People very well may get inspections and all that sort of stuff, but to spend $500 or $600 up front to get your own inspection to hand out to people may help streamline their process on getting over any potential issues they may think your property has due to age or so forth. So it's a very small investment for a very large piece of clarity on your home. I always suggest doing that and things along that line. So it's not, again, it's not going to be a direct correlation that you own an older property. It's going to be, there's going to be more costs involved for you at all, but the potential buyer are going to dig as deep as they possibly can, not to kind of leave anything on the sidelines, to clarify exactly what they're buying because it is older. And finding the right realtor. Like I kind of touched on with regards to the rain screen or the leaky condo situation, if you've got a building that may be affected by any of that, it's always good to bring that up when you are dealing with interviewing agents. Do you know about what technology the building is, the envelope of this building? Do you know anything about it? Do you know what its faults are? This is why we spend a bit more on maintenance every year, to make sure we're keeping a very close eye on the seals and the seams of the exterior envelope, so on and so forth. So interviewing agents to specific points about what they know about you. It's not just about knowing how to put out photos and video out online on different platforms to attract people. They need to speak about and to the integrity of not only the unit, but very much so the building. Because again, as we've discussed in past videos, that's in a lot of cases the much bigger elephant in the room, what's going on in the building that this 1,000 square foot unit is actually attached to, and is this a good investment overall for them to be spending this much money on. So when you're interviewing realtors, always, like I said before, there's no stupid questions, and if you have a building that is older and is experiencing plumbing that's starting to leak or roof that's starting to leak, ask them if they've had experience in that. Ask them if they've had experience in selling units that have current issues going on. It happens in every building at some point or another. So do they have experience in that? How would they suggest talking around that and emphasizing specific details about how the strata is dealing with it proactively, of course, to any potential buyers that are coming in and are going to inevitably read about it in the depreciation report or minutes or in the inspection they get anyway. I'm going to leave it at that. Jay at McInnesMarketing.com. 604-771-4606. If you have any more questions on selling older properties here in Vancouver, please don't hesitate to touch base. We've got plenty of experience on the house and the condo side ourselves, of course, so we'd love to sit down with you and show you how we would clarify what you've got to sell, shining it in the brightest light, of course, and making the most streamlined approach to market for you, selling at the highest dollar value, of course, possible in the with the best terms possible, always being the goal. Thanks again for your attention, and we look forward to the next one. Bye for now.